Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Voltron Legendary Defender, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Justin Cummings.
Hello.
Jeff Anderson.
Howdy.
And Andy Potter.
Hey.
We are back with our Voltron Legendary Defender coverage to talk Voltron Season 4, which premiered today on Netflix. 2 months after season 3 premiered, these 6 episodes for quote-unquote season 4 have dropped, and our Voltron coverage is back. We'll be taking you through all of the episodes this season. Our plan is a podcast on the premiere today, so we're getting into Code of Honor? Yeah.
Yes.
We'll discuss, I don't know why the episode's called that, but they will talk Code of Honor today, just that episode, and then we'll be going in pairs through 2 and 3, 3 and 4 and 5, and then we'll be giving you a finale podcast. So 4 podcasts on Voltron Season 4. Oh, that's good.
Which is really the last half of Season 3, which is actually like the last half of Season 2.
Yeah, the first half of what you said, I outlined this in our previous Season 3 coverage. The first half is definitely true of what you said, and the second half is there's a debate. I get pushback when I claim that, but at the very least, this is clearly not supposed to be its own season, although I thought this pretty well worked as a premiere. So
it did. It felt definite. It felt not necessarily season premiere. I stood by that last season's finale felt like a mid-season. This feels like how a lot of network shows will go on, or a lot of broadcast shows will go on like a winter break and then come back in January or February. This is what that felt like.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the January premiere, yeah. So, that's fine. And this is basically what Netflix did anyway. It's just, I feel like what the episode division's fine. Just like call this season 3. Like, just keep, why do we need the season 4 designation? Anyway, that's a broader problem because Netflix did that with Little Witch Academia and some other stuff too. But we're talking Code of Honor, the Voltron premiere. Spoilers for this episode of Voltron, but not beyond. We have not seen past this episode yet. So, no, you can just watch. You can watch with us and then listen to the podcast as you watch through Voltron Season 4. Find us at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us iTunes. Search for Overly Animated Voltron. We have a Voltron-specific iTunes feed if you just want our Voltron podcasts. And you can also subscribe if you listen on YouTube. We cross-post all of our podcasts there. So let's get into this Season 4 premiere, Code of Honor. Justin, what'd you think?
I like this episode a lot. At first, I was like, oh, it's a Keith episode. And by the end, I'm like, okay, but it might be the last Keith episode. So
Fair.
I'm okay with it being a lot of Keith if it means we don't have to see him soon every episode. Front load all the Keith drama this season, push him aside. All right, back to business.
Were you a Keith hater? I don't remember that. I feel like you defended
I'm not
Keith.
even. I like Keith.
I'm a Keith
character,
hater. I don't remember you being a Keith hater.
I like Keith, but I feel like we've gotten too many Keith episodes, and it's kind of becoming the Keith show a little bit.
Yeah. And
I'm hesitant that we're going to get into a Power Rangers Mystic Force thing where it's yeah, it's a team, but those guys don't matter. It's all about Keith.
2-minute mark for the Power Rangers reference, but
it's longer than 2 minutes.
We'll see. But it's so you liked it. So you thought the Keith focus worked, considering the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like this episode.
Okay. That'll be my next question. Is Keith gone forever? But for now, Jeff, what do you think of this episode?
This particular episode has actually. I think that Keith is now my most favorite character, who's recently surpassed Zuko.
Wait. What context for favorite? Like all of
TV? Of animation.
All of animation. Wow.
Yeah.
So
really, no, I'm not as well versed as you are, but
yeah, Keith more than Zuko though.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there could be a recency bias, but this is I really enjoyed the whole tortured, split allegiance thing, which I guess is also why I like Zuko, so it's understandable.
Yeah, definitely a similar archetype, so I think the comparison's justified. But but what about the episode overall? What do you think of it?
Overall, I thought it was a really well-paced episode. At one point I was like, oh man, did they really go there? But then they had a good reason for going there, and so it redeemed itself. So we can talk about that later. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly good.
Nice. Okay. Andy, what do you think?
I really like this episode. It honestly impressed me in a lot of ways that Voltron hasn't done yet, and that's to do with pacing, like Jeff said, and I really liked the back and forth scenes where we were seeing them performing, and we saw the mission that Keith was on, and I thought that whole scene was really good. And I really liked the emotional stuff with Shiro later in the episode. That actually was pretty well done, I thought. So overall, I really liked this episode as an introduction to whatever we're calling this season.
Yeah. 4 for 4. I think this was a good episode of Voltron. This episode is impressive in a lot of ways that Voltron, I think typically doesn't hit its marks as much. I was kind of shocked that at the end that we really paid off this journey we're on with Keith. Like, there are actual stakes here, and there's consequences for what's happening. I'm admittedly not the biggest Keith fan, but the show has just been so laser focused on him through seasons 2, 3, and now into 4, that I definitely think he is one of the best characters. If not, you can make an argument for him being the best character on the show for sure. And I think that what we see here was was well presented. I question, and I want to get into if there's enough build up to this ending of the episode. We had a break from the previous episodes. I don't remember every detail. But I think the Keith Shiro leadership struggle is great, and I think one of the big things and the reasons why this episode succeeds is because it's so focused on just this Keith division with the rest of Voltron. There's only one scene or maybe 2 scenes in the whole episode that don't have anything to do with this. So typically Voltron splits its time. We have random villain scenes. We did have one random villain scene here, but it felt necessary considering we were talking about Lotor so much and what his plans were. So we had a very brief check-in. But other than that, it was just like Keith, and I thought it was successful. I think the big question is we're starting off with a bang here. Keith leaves Team Voltron to go on this new mission to infiltrate the Quintessence supply line with the Blade of Malmora in order to track down Lotor's whereabouts. So I assume Keith is not gone forever from the show, but could he be gone the rest of the season?
I hope not. I hope they do some B stories with him.
Yeah, okay, so the 2 separate questions, I feel like, now that you bring that up, Jeff. Is he gone from Voltron for the rest of the season, and is he gone from the show? So you're saying not from the show. Do you think he's just done with Voltron for now?
Well, it's similar to that storyline in season 2 of Young Justice, right? The infiltration. There's precedent to do that sort of thing. It just depends on what the writers want to do. Really couldn't say, but I do hope they keep him around because he is my favorite.
What do you think, Andy, to those 2 questions?
I think that we're definitely going to get some B plots with him and see what he's doing with the Blade of Malmora. But I also definitely think he's going to be back in Voltron before this season ends, because I still think something's wrong with Shiro. We talked about it at the end of season 3 a little bit, and I still think there's something up with Shiro here, and I'm not quite sure what, because this kind of threw all of what I thought
back to that
about.
In a second, yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, and Justin, what do you think about those?
I think he's going to be off of Voltron until the season finale, but I think we might pop in on him a little bit. I think he might still make small appearances, not full B plots, but maybe C plots. But I think, going with Andy, I think the whole Shiro issue and question is going to what leads Keith to return to Voltron ready to lead at the end of
who else is going to go and kill the clone, right?
Right. So it's very easy to imagine this scenario where clone / alternate universe Shiro is now leading Voltron. Keith's gone. He has to come back. He discovers information in his secret mission that, oh my god, it's a fake Shiro. I have to go back to Team Voltron to take back the reins. It's very easy to see the season going that way. But I think the big wrench in it is Shiro's back in charge of the Black Lion. The big evidence for this is this is not real Shiro. This is a clone. One of the top 3 pieces of evidence was he's not able to pilot the Black Lion, but the Black Lion has accepted him. So is it not possible that this is fake Shiro anymore? Is this definitely real Shiro?
I think that the Black Lion the Black Lions are obviously intelligent, and I suspect it was a matter of okay, you're off, but there's a pressing need, and my real pilot isn't around, so okay, let's pilot, save the day, save, people. Yeah. That's my theory.
Yeah, I think that's an easy explanation. That's how I kind of interpreted it. It's like the Lion really did not accept him until the exact moment when the Lion like knew that the other paladins would just die if he didn't accept Clone Shiro. So I feel like the Lions are smart enough to be able to say, okay, whatever, this is fake Shiro, but that's fine. For now, he can do this. And I think a real test is if the Lion continues to accept Shiro, because they seemed like, oh, the Lion has accepted you, now I can just go away. Keith says like, but did the Lion really permanently accept him, or was it just for that one moment?
Yeah, who knows? I would just want to interject and just say how much I love the portrayal of fake Shiro. Just like, it's very obvious that like this spark has gone out of him. Like he's just so very by the book now. But it's just like, this is not the Shiro of season 1, you know?
Yeah, and I think even if it were real Shiro, he's like gone through a lot, so he might have this dejectedness towards him. But my problem with I don't know, I didn't expect to get into the clone issue so much, but it is top of mind. My problem with this, I don't think that this is like an obvious evil person. Like I think this Shiro thinks he's real Shiro.
Oh, yes. Of course, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. So. I definitely still think that like Clone, Sleeper Cell, all these are on the table. I don't know. I don't think this episode supported it as much as previous ones have. Although we still had that line when he's escaping. You know, like
yeah.
So it's probably still likely. I think Keith leaving. I don't know if that makes it more or less likely. Maybe it like brings the plot to the forefront. So, but anyway, so Keith leaves at the end. I think that this is a great culmination for this specific episode. Like it's like, why are we just so focused on this? Keith like doesn't really want to be the leader of Voltron. He wants to do Blade of Malmura stuff. And like episode really justifies it by having him leave. So like that part I think is great. Like it pays off the episode very well. But is this in line with Keith's arc that we've been on? Like I don't really remember Keith doing that much Blade of Malmura stuff previously in season 3. Like he definitely did the training in season 2 and stuff like that. Had we been doing a lot of this stuff with Keith?
It was a bit surprising.
3 had kind of dropped Blade of Malmura completely, because I remember in those podcasts we were all kind of like, where's the Blade of Malmura? Where's the Blade of Malmura? Because we were so focused on Lotor. And I guess, or Lotar, how you pronounce his name, and I guess this is kind of one of those weird things that happens when you split a season in half. All of a sudden, what went from being just, oh, we didn't see him in the first part of the season with the Blade of Malmura, to we didn't see him for an entire season with the Blade of Malmura, kind of makes it a bit weirder. Like if this aired as part of season 3, we might not be as concerned.
That's possible, yeah. It was only 7 episodes, so but yeah, Jeff, what do you think about that? Did it seem surprising to you that Keith in the Malmura came up so quickly here?
Well, yeah. I mean, at first I thought it was some like female character.
Yeah, I did too.
The build, but I mean, that's I guess that's something that I've come to be like blindsided by a lot with the Blade of Malmura. Just body structure, he's very feminine in certain ways, but yeah, I mean, mostly I was just like, okay, I dig this. I mean, yes, it did come a bit of a surprise, but it was a welcome one. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with that. I was thrown off at first. I mean, it wasn't clear who the Blade of Malmura and people were. And I was like, oh, one of them's Keith, right? And then one of them was Keith. I think just because of the voice or something. But
the moment he started grunting, I was like, oh, Keith.
Yeah, I think that's when I had it too. Yeah. So, I'm like a little annoyed that we didn't continue this plot thread, but at the same time, it really worked in this episode. So I think I'm fine with it. Do you agree, Andy?
You mean the Shiro stuff, or do you mean the Blade of Malmura stuff?
Keith working with the Blade of Malmura here. Yeah.
I think it's okay. It works for me because of the ending. If we didn't end it in this way, I feel like it was kind of useless. But the way that it resolved itself in this episode really made sense to me. That he was doing this for a reason. He was really distancing himself because of Shiro, and that made sense to me, at least from what we know of Keith so far.
Yeah. It's just so well done here. So like the choice to like have Keith leave leave Voltron and potentially be as not as much prominent a focus on the show. Which I think even if we do check in on him, I don't think he would be as prominent in the show as he would have if he were the Team Voltron lead. I'm skeptical that we of the possibility that we wouldn't see him at all until the finale. I think we'll probably check on him twice maybe. But I think that it's a good decision just from an overall show perspective because Keith has been soaking up so much screen time, to be honest. Hunk and Pidge really have had zero focus from these previous 8 episodes of the seasons now. Hunk especially, I know from clips that Pidge is going to have something to do soon. Hunk has been really invisible this season, and I think that even Allura this episode, it was a while before we saw her do anything, and she has one scene with Keith. But yeah, I think that the show is it shows okay, Keith wasn't a great character at first. Now they made him a great character, and he's potentially the best on the show. So we want to focus on him a lot. But I think this focus may have been hurting the overall show structure. So I think that bringing him to a head and then tabling it for a little bit, I think that might work out. Justin, what do you think about that claim that we're too focused on Keith?
Yeah, I think we definitely were getting a bit too Keith-centric. Like I said, it was kind of turning to the Keith show, and so I'm very happy that he got a good full arc, and now it seems we're kind of tabling Keith for a little bit.
Yeah, I think this is the right way to do it. So I'm excited to see how that's handled, but at the same time, maybe we can get into some more plot lines here. So let's talk the central conflict of this episode is this Keith and him wanting to work with the Blade of Mamura and simultaneously thinking that Shiro's the proper leader for Voltron versus everyone else who says Keith needs to help with their coalition building efforts and take up the head of the Black Lion. This conflict, I think it's emphasized a lot here. I think that the Keith not wanting to be leader thing was very well built up last season, and this makes sense to me. I do think it's kind of sudden that he's nope, don't want anything to do with Voltron anymore. I don't know. What do you think about that, Andy?
I think it is a little sudden, but there is a throwaway line where he mentions it's been a couple of months. There's been a couple of months where I think he realizes that Shiro really does want to be, because it is obvious from the conversation that Shiro really wants to be in control of the Black Line, despite he's just a really good guy. He's really nice, and he knows that the Black Line has accepted Keith, but you can tell he's itching to get back out there and help. That's what he wants. He wants to do that. He wants to lead the team. But he's okay with that. But Keith really wants to push him back into that Black Line, and he wants that, and that makes sense to me. I'm okay with this progression with that one throwaway line. It's a throwaway line that makes sense because we had a little bit of a break between quote-unquote seasons, and I think it's fine. I think it's fine how it's done here.
Jeff, what's your take on that and also the conflict presented between Shiro and Keith with the leadership in this episode?
I think Shiro comes off as someone who's are you sure? Are you sure you want the last fry? Because I'll take it. I really want it, but I don't want to come across as wanting it at all because that'll, yeah. So I think that was very well done. And so this gets into something that happened late in the show when when Shiro does take over the Black Line. I was really hoping that nothing would happen, and then something horrible would happen out in the field. The convoys are destroyed, and then Keith's reticence to pilot the Black Line has actual consequences. It catches up to him, oh shoot, people are dead because of me. That would have been cool. And then the show went and said, nope, no consequences. We'll just have Shiro back in the line. And I thought, oh dang it. But then that totally paved the way for Keith to take this leave of absence. And okay.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I was worried that Keith was kind of acting like a little bit of a jerk here, as he tends to do, and he was neglecting pretty important things, and it was very easy to just yeah, I get it, these are kind of pointless ceremonies. It's just very easy to imagine that this would escalate into something bigger, and then. We didn't really have it come back around on him, but it served a greater purpose in the narrative. So I think that ended up working out really well. Justin, take on the Shiro Keith conflict, and do you think this is something that is going to come up again in the season?
Maybe not in the season. Okay, it will, but not with Keith around. I think people may, like I said, it's been months since we last saw Lotor. I think people are gonna have a hard time getting reused to Shiro's leadership. I don't want another full "we can't form Voltron" episode about it, but just little things like, well, Keith would have done it this way, and Shiro kind of having to regain leadership. Yeah, I think Keith may not have been the best leader just because his mind was on other things, but people got used to it, and I think that's going to be a source of contention, and the other four paladins will kind of represent Keith until he comes back.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see when the Keith comes back into play, and if this conflicts with anything going on with Shiro. One thing I want to comment on from before is that, like, I think I tend to agree that, like, beneath the surface, Shiro did really want leadership back, but I think, like, he didn't think that. Like, I feel like it was like a hidden emotional thing for him. I think he genuinely believed that he was fine in this current role, and he wanted Keith. He like really wanted this for Keith and to Keith to succeed. Like, I'm really on the train of like current Shiro. Like, I believe he's genuine, like 100%. And I'm a little bit worried that if he is a clone or something, that'll be discarded. And it's like, no, clones are people too. Like, let's not have anything happen to nice clone Shiro here.
I'm also worried based on that. Like when we inevitably discard Shiro, if he is a fake in some way, I'm worried that'll come across with Keith becoming the Black Paladin again. I think that'll come across kind of lacking. I'm worried the way, because you can do that in the way where it's just like, oh, Keith is back because we just need a Black Paladin. That's not the way I want that to happen. I want it to happen in like, I want Keith to actually grow from this, and I'm worried we might not get that growth if it's just because we're lacking a Black Paladin again.
Yeah, I think Keith needs...
Does that make...
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think Keith, we need to, like, address the core of this issue, that I feel like this is Keith kind of abandoning Voltron. Like, it's not... he's choosing... Like, it's understandable that he sees greater purpose here with the Malmura. It's understandable that he feels like he might fit in with the Malmura more, given his history. So, I think those are real things, and I don't think he's, like, an instantly a bad person for choosing the Malmura over Voltron, but he is doing that. So, like, we can't just revert on this decision. Like, this needs to be a thing that comes back in the show. And if it's going to be reversed, if Keith is coming back to Voltron, like, I feel like it's going to take more than maybe an episode's worth of content to convince me that Keith fits in back here with Voltron and his heart's really in it.
Yeah, but that might be stuff for like season 5. Like I'd be okay if we get a start to it in like the finale, but we don't actually get resolution completely till the next season.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 5 more episodes, so I'd expect a lot of this stuff is definitely season 5 material. So, the other big, other than Shiro, the other big Keith relationship addressed in this episode is Allura and Keith, our favorite. So, we have a Keith and Allura scene. Allura says that Voltron needs you, Blade of Malmura doesn't. They're just going to keep going on like they've been. I think Allura was very logical, and here, while Keith was not kind of being logical and needing, like, what is Keith's skill set so vital to the Malmura? Like, he literally is the only person other than ends up being Shiro that Voltron needs. So I liked Allura being very direct and clear here, but I think, like, emotionally, Allura was very like, as with a lot of their discussions, there's kind of the subtext of their potential romantic chemistry or whatever that was kind of coming into play and was unspoken, and then at the end they have like looks and stuff. So I guess I'm surprised that Keith left and the show didn't do anything with this thing that they've been seemingly working towards for a while. I'm probably the biggest Keith Allura hater in the world, and I really don't want them to do anything with it. But I'm surprised that they didn't. Like, what's the point of all this tension building if we're not going to pay it off at this moment, if any?
I think this is a sign that we're just not going to get into it then, ever. I don't think they want to do any romance in this show, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the argument would be that it's all just going to stay subtext. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. Jeff, what do you think about this?
I mean, I'm all for it, but it's not going to be the end of the world if they don't go there. I think they've established sufficient background that they could do something with it if they do it right. It wouldn't be completely out of the blue. So
Yeah, they've definitely built it up. Yeah, that's for sure.
It just really depends on their writer's prerogative.
I guess the only other thing could be maybe there's like a reunion moment, when Keith comes back to join the group, maybe like saves the day or something when Sleeper Cell Shiro turns on them, and then there's like something like that. But I don't know. I like we had the requisite scene of the two of them, but it didn't necessarily go any places. Justin, thumbs up or thumbs down at the handling here?
Thumbs up.
Because it didn't happen. That's why.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm struggling to see like what, because the scenario you just described where like he comes in and saves the day from like evil Shiro doesn't strike me as a sort of thing that would catalyze anything between them personally. So I don't know what sort of like scenario would cause that. I need to do some more thinking.
Yeah, it's probably not exactly that. I think for like a traditional like male-female couple that would work, but Allura is really not the traditional like.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I agree. Allura's disposition makes that unlikely. But it really makes anything unlikely between the two of them. So I do think it's kind of realistic that this hasn't paid off just because Allura is just like all business and not really any romance focused at all. So I think that kind of makes sense. And
she'd have to find out that she's half Gauran and then go.
Jeff's been that's probably all these fanfics about that. I think that's what's been no, but yeah, that's something like that, right? I don't know. So we'll see if that pays off. But I think the show did. That was like, other than Shiro, that was the thing that was focused on here. And then Lance, Sai don't really get anything from it. We got like one little thing. Andy, what's our clan's check-in in this episode?
We don't get a lot of clans, like almost no clans, but we do get Lance having one of the funniest moments in this entire episode, at the very least, wanting to have this performance be great, and I think that fits his character so well. But he doesn't get a lot. But neither do Pidge or Hunk. Like, it's not just Lance that doesn't get a lot this episode.
Oh yeah, well, the only reason I mentioned Lance is not. I mean, Lance in terms of Lance and Keith's, because that's once again that was like maybe the most prominent dynamic on the show in season 1. And it's been since then it's been underplayed.
Are we going to have to migrate to like secret clans, because we used to have like secret Zutara or hidden Zutara?
Oh my god!
Unlike not the same, because Clans was in theory could have been building up in season 1, and Zutara was not the same in that as that. But I feel like Keith Allura in terms of character archetypes is the Zutara, except it seems to be the focus of the show, so it's unlike that. Anyway, yes, Andy.
But I think it's interesting because there is this idea that the Lions have a specific point. Like, Lance is the right hand of the line, and that means he's the second in command. But he was the second in command to Keith, not the second in command to Shiro. And I'm curious if that will play into things, and maybe we'll get... I think Lance is in a position to talk about Keith the most in terms of Shiro replacing him, if that makes sense, because of that interaction. Because that was really played up last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that you have to also like in terms of that, you have to consider that the shift of the Paladins to Lions may have made more sense given Keith being there, not Shiro being there. So how will the Lance Lieutenant thing come into play? Yeah, I think Lance is gonna what's gonna happen is he's gonna be internally missing Keith a lot, but he would never say it, so he's gonna be like, oh, remember Keith would just be a real jerk in this situation. Like he's gonna do a lot of that type of thing. Like bring that on.
I actually think he's gonna be the first one to be vocal about it. Like, I think Shiro's gonna make a decision and Lance just won't agree with it and think it's the wrong thing to do.
Okay, so you could question Shiro too. Yeah, I could see that definitely.
Yeah.
On top of that, add into the fact that Allura has never flown with Shiro.
That's true, yeah.
Lance got promoted while Shiro was gone, but Allura became a paladin. Like, we haven't seen that dynamic.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't know if that'll be an issue. They seem both to be pretty on the nose about things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's
But that is a good point.
I could see them maybe slightly addressing it. Their response in interviews, when we talked about Allura becoming a paladin, it's always been like, oh, she was a super fast learner because she is like more inherently capable, or like had the previous experience as the pilot of the whole ship. So I feel like if we're going by the logic that Allura is just like a natural talent here, then it might not be that much of an issue. But I do wonder how much of the leadership change, if that's going to come into play, or if it is only temporary and, it's not real Shiro and Keith's coming back, if we even need to spend time with it, is that even worth getting into? So I think it's going to be interesting in these next few episodes, what's happening with Shiro leading the group. We've mentioned most stuff, I think, from the episode. We had in the beginning, like we mentioned, the Keith Kolovan and Regris. So Regris, is this a character we've seen before? Because he seemingly is only here just to die later.
I don't think we've seen him before. I think you're correct.
He gets blown up. So once he got named, that was a bad sign, because like, why does this random Blade of Mummer guy need a name? Oh, because he's dying later. I feel like that's the answer.
Yeah.
I appreciate telling us that that's Koloban. But yeah, I think the mission in the beginning, that was really good. That was a nice action piece on the show.
And I liked how Keith like talked back to the leaders, like, Voltron would have gone in for this guy. I didn't even care about him. I want the information.
Yeah, he's like trying to convince himself that he's like true Malmoran with that.
Yeah.
I did like that. They seemingly find out that a new form of quintessence is what's happening here, and it's linked to Lotor.
Quintessence. Can we just describe the first form of quintessence before we start making sub-forms of it?
Right.
There's already like two.
Yeah, I have zero concept of what a new form of quintessence would be, because I have zero concept of what the original form of quintessence is. So yeah, I think this is kind of stupid.
They needed to make it like green or some other color, because we have, gold, we have purple, and now we're back to gold, I think. I don't know.
Did we see it? Yeah, I don't even know.
But we saw it during the conversion process.
Okay.
Yeah,
I do think it should be like a different color and like different properties. I don't know. I hope we get into that more, because I was unsatisfied in this episode. But I do like this like thread throughout with Lotor and the quintessence, because that was it's like what we're like, if we're tabling Lotor like this, then he needs to be, because it's going to come to the forefront in such a big way, seemingly. So I like threading this throughout this Voltron specific conflict. We have like a few Keith Shiro discussions. Shiro saying like ordering Keith to be in line here, and they both like want to like take away leadership and want each other to be the leader. Some similar to previous stuff we've gotten into. We have like coalition building scenes on Rayfod. We had Karan leading the like speech. I guess it was fine.
Really should have been more prepared. Like, if Keith's not there before you start, don't like expect him to just show up magically.
And isn't this an issue for like multiple of these? Like, if they're doing multiple a week, like Keith's probably missing more than this one. I don't. Maybe this is just the first, but yeah, I guess Karan's just so into the performance emotionally that he wasn't thinking ahead. Yeah, I like I like them. If we're really doing this coalition building thing, it's been so quick and a lot off screen, so I kind of like showing it here to like really like they're really rebelling against the Galrin, and we'd seen very little of that until now.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the rebels just took 3 of our star systems. Really? Okay, that's good to know. Wish you could have showed us.
Right? Yeah. It's like suddenly this is like this huge thing, and I don't know really where it came from, but at the very least we do see it here, and like how the process of them,
like we need like in Star Wars we need like the Rebel Command Center or something, like showing ships that are not Voltron actually doing things.
Yeah, like who's leading this rebellion? Is it the Blade of Malmora? Is it? It's not like Karan. Like I assume they're involved, but who? Like we need a rebel. I think we need the rebel president. Like I think like that should be a character on the show. Like, separate from the Blade of Malmora.
I kind of got the impression that Shiro was leading things. Like he knew where like supply ships were going and stuff, but that didn't seem quite correct in my head.
They're definitely involved. Like I get that much, yeah.
He's like a liaison between Rebels and Voltron. Seems like.
Yeah, but like
But again, we don't know enough.
they don't have enough time. I feel like I don't buy that that Voltron's really in charge of this whole thing. I don't know. I get them doing like aesthetic performances like this. So I'd like to dig deeper into it. The show's seemingly not been interested in it, but if this is really a major thing and we're really rising up, then I think more of this would be good. We have this scene with Keith and the Malmuran trying to intercept the supply ship, but it's empty and it's a decoy ship, and then
Duh, like of course, like it's empty. Get out of there. Why?
yeah, what are they hoping to find? It's like if Doctor Who has taught us anything, then empty ships are bad news. But
And that's sort of like okay, when it's convenient, the tracker means something attached to the hull, but for the purpose of this story, tracker means program you put in, and you only from one particular place.
yeah, that confused me because we've definitely done trackers just throw it onto the ship things in the show, and he went to program. You could also just program it in, but
I think the reason is they were trying to track not where it was going, but where it had already been. I think that's what they were trying to do, and I think they just used a poor
they should have
wordage
said
there.
like find the ship's history. Like yeah,
I think that might have been what happened.
I don't know. I mean, it was fine, but then they blow up, and then I think there's a good scene of like Keith, it's like trying to get back onto the ship and surviving, and I think that was suspenseful. Kolovat.
I thought when they arrived at the ship, like with those cool little jetpacks, and Keith like destroys his, and like you're gonna need that later, man.
Yeah, and I agree. And Kolovat, I feel like established in this episode, really does not care for Keith's well-being. Was
just very Malmoran.
Yeah, very blatant Malmoran. Definitely leaving Keith to die two times in this episode, so that's good. As I mentioned before, we have the scene of Hagar and Lotor. So it really doesn't dive into anything. Hagar's just like, you need to lead us and stop doing stuff in secret. You're the leader of the Galran Empire, so you need to be visible. And Lotor's like, no thanks, Mom. So
Yeah.
Very interesting parallel between him and Keith right now.
Ooh, what about the two of them?
Well, like they're both like, hey, or people are telling him, hey, you need to be visible and stop doing your own thing.
Yeah, I like.
Go away, Mom.
Go away, Shiro.
Go away,
Shiro, Mom. Yeah.
Well, and Allura, Mom.
Oh yeah, Allura, Mom too. Yeah, they're the two moms of the ship. Yeah. So I agree. That is really interesting. I wonder if I feel like we got into the Keith Zarkon, I guess Shiro Zarkon, and maybe Keith is the Lotor of the group, and if they connect, maybe like him tailing Lotor so much leads him to Lotor, and then Lotor like is trying to like convert him to his side.
Yeah, you were like me.
Yeah.
I would really like to have a chance to talk, because really I would like any character to talk to Lotor that isn't part of the Galran Empire, because I feel like it would be a really interesting scene to see that.
Yeah, I think so. More Lotor. Come on, let's such a standout character. But I understand only doing one scene here because we're so Keith here. But I did enjoy that, and we saw all the generals and stuff, even if they don't say anything. I guess one of them, the lieutenant, said something. But yeah, and then we have the action scene of them defending the medical supply ships, and Shiro coming at the last second. Then they form Voltron. And you really get the scale in this episode. I don't know if I've gotten this impression that Voltron is just so exponentially more powerful than the individual lines before, but like this scene maybe like displays that more than anything else, because they are just doing nothing, and then Voltron, then suddenly they can just kill all these ships very fast.
Well, they're also more skilled now than when they formerly formed Voltron. Like when they used to form Voltron, it used to be very hard for them to beat one of these battle cruisers, even when they were as the big mech. But now they're used to being it, and they know a lot more skills. Like they didn't always have that big cannon or the sword, and now they do, and I think that's more to do with that.
They conveniently didn't touch on the whole, like you mentioned, Allura and Shiro. They were flying together. They were just as effective, it seemed like, as Voltron. Then yeah. So
I guess that was...
There was opportunity to do something, but there wasn't room in the story. Like the story called for a dramatic ending, so that's what we got.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's still time to hit on it later, but Yeah, very effective as Voltron. Good omen for future Clone Shiro leadership if they're able to take out these ships like this.
And again, they have this. It's sort of the same issue I had with like Rogue One. They don't show ships moving around like the galaxy. I mean, sometimes you'll see these ships jump through like equivalent of hyperspace, but in this one, it's just like, oh, hey, there's ships somewhere, and then we'll just show up, and I guess we're already in the same system because we don't show them going anywhere. Well, it's like the lines of Voltron were already. It seems like they were already in the area. We don't show them
that's
zipping
true,
around.
Yeah.
Just a minor annoyance.
Yeah.
Not too.
Yeah, and this is not an important discussion, but the show has its own terminology and its own scale with the universe, and it's always very unclear to me whatever is going on, anything involving that. It's like, if we're really, are we far away from something? Like, what is like this system got taken down or rebelled? I don't know what that means. Like, what is any of this?
And that's not even getting into time stuff, like the way they say, like, that was funny for the first few episodes, but now it's like, I kind of would like to know how long things are happening.
I got the ticks as seconds from this episode, so 30 ticks. Got that. Okay. Thumbs up. And then we end the episode with, so there's the Sheen of Shira leaving. He's gonna go doing this infiltration mission, and we get like a team hug. Like, they're like, support his decision. This
totally means someone's gonna die. If we're getting this happy seed, like, it's not gonna be happy by the end of the season.
Who's dying though?
Shiro, fake Shiro, clone Shiro.
That doesn't count. He's clone Shiro.
That's all I mean. I meant they won't be happy at the end.
Well, duh. You can't be happy for more than whatever. I thought it was fast that they're suddenly supporting him and his decision here. But they are like a functional like family. So
they're all clones.
Oh. Let's talk about that now. But yeah, so
no, please don't.
So yeah, we've accepted it. Keith's gone at the end, and yeah, so overall, I guess last thoughts on the episode. Keith being gone, where are we going from here, Justin?
I liked it. I thought it was a good episode, and I think that we're definitely gonna see some Blade of Marmora Keith hopefully pretty soon. I'm really anxious to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll be next episode. I could imagine them taking an episode off, and then it's like the B plot of the next one, but the one after that. But yeah, Jeff.
Final thoughts are, I wish Netflix hadn't shown me what's going to happen next episode, because now I know more than I wanted to about it. But overall, no. This episode was, I'd say it's like a 8.5 plus out of 10.
Yeah, that's a solid grade. Yeah, at any you do like because it like popped up at the end, like play the next episode, or you mean like the clips from Comic-Con that they'd been showing?
I think Netflix just showed it to me early. I don't know.
Okay, got it. Come on, Netflix. Good of you. Yeah. Okay, Andy.
I would really like to see more interaction with all the Paladins of Voltron. Like, it didn't feel like we were watching Voltron. It felt like, again, we were watching the Keith show, and we got a little bit of Shiro and Allura being like little angels or whatever on his shoulders, like talking to him, trying to give him advice and things. But I'd really want to see the interaction with all these characters, because they have 5 really solid characters in the air at the same time when they're in Voltron. But I didn't feel like we were getting that. I really want to see the interaction between all of them this season, and I hope we get a little more banter and stuff with Hunk and Pidge, and because they've been, like you said, really not focused on for the last few episodes.
Yeah. Pidge, please. Give us Pidge. Come on. What are we doing here? Let's do Pidge episode. Let's do that next. But yes, please. And seriously, though, the lack of Hunk also has just been really noticeable.
Did he even have a line this episode, Hunk?
He might not have. I don't know. He probably had like one. But yeah, it's been not great. So we'll see what we're doing the rest of the season in these preceding 6 episodes. Next, Code of Honor. This one, I guess I won't say. We won't get into the titles for next ones, but I don't know. They don't really say Code of Honor in this. It's more just like a theoretical Code of Honor involving Keith, right? That's it.
I guess it's like a Rick and Morty level episode name. It has nothing to do.
Keith of Honor. It's not like that. Like, that It's not really even a pun.
Okay,
but
that's true.
Anyway, that's our discussion on this episode. Let us know your thought in the comments where you're listening to this. Justin will be back with the next 2 episodes whenever that'll be up. And check all that out at overlyanimated.com or on iTunes. Subscribe to us there to not miss anything. Consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Ryan, aka Brian, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Andy. Join us on, if you want to talk about the show on Discord with us, text chat on Discord. Check out overlyanimated.com/Discord. I set up a Voltron spoiler channel, which I'm not clicking into. So if you want to talk about the overall season, and then we also have a normal Voltron channel. Yeah, so that's it for this. Check out our future podcast at overlyanimated.com. Bunch of stuff up. Ruby also coming back now, so a lot happening in the animation world. All that out at overlyanimated.com. Thank you guys very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
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 Bye.